Well, ex-Chicago Sky Kennedy Carter is back in the news, and it's not for being back on a WNBA court. She sat down on an IRL stream with Neon 3, and they revisited Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark incident. And we're going to unpack all that here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, ex-Chicago Sky star guard Kennedy Carter is back in the news. And it's not for the reasons that we think. It's not for the reasons of her being a camp invite to one of these WNBA teams. And she's not back on a WNBA court. She was on an IRL stream, Neon 3, and they was doing some interesting things. They actually played a game of basketball, and Kennedy Carter was, having fun. But also, they sat down and they revisited incident that happened between Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark earlier in last year's WNBA season. And that was headline news. Kennedy Carter was in the news and was trending all last year in the WNBA because of what took place between her and Caitlin Clark. And that was deemed as, some people may say, assault on Caitlin Clark. And we know when that incident happened, that was talked about throughout social media, online, in the YouTube media space, and things just was blown out of proportion. And we really never got a chance to hear Kennedy Carter's side on that, because after the game, when the incident took place in the post-game press conference, they asked Kennedy Carter some questions about it, and she was like, next question. She just wanted to move on from it. And it was like shockwaves that was sent through social media and also mainstream media and also the YouTube media space. And a lot of people will say, and are on record to believe, that is probably one of the main reasons Kennedy Carter is not in the WNBA today. Well, we all know Kennedy Carter. She is an outstanding guard. She led the Chicago Sky in scoring last year with 17.6 points a game. She was a firecracker. She was very explosive, probably one of the fastest guards in the WNBA from baseline to baseline. Do what her game entailed. She had a great mid-range game. She could get to the bucket. She was a fierce competitor on the defensive end. And she was a spark plug for the Chicago Sky. And we all know that she had a couple hiccups before she got onto the Chicago Sky. We know what happened to her when she was with, the LA Sparks. And, Teresa Weatherspoon was the head coach of the Chicago Sky last year. And I think Teresa Weatherspoon did a great job in giving Kennedy Carter a chance to get back on a WNBA court. And Kennedy Carter was a late draft invite to the Chicago Sky, and she made the team because we all know what she brings to the basketball table. She was probably one of the top 3 guards in the WNBA last year. And if you say I'm lying, then go look at the tape, go look at the footage, go look at the numbers. Kennedy Carter brought a lot to the table for the Chicago Sky. And it seemed like when Kennedy Carter was out on that court with Angel Reese, them two right there was inseparable. They fed off of each other, and Chicago Skies was in a good place. But Kennedy Carter was in and out of the lineup for reasons we don't know. And then evidently at the end of the year, Chicago Sky didn't make the playoff, and Kennedy Carter was, hurt, and she missed a few games, and things just went downhill after Angel Reese injured the wrist. Chicago Sky fell out of playoff contention. Now, in the offseason, she was a restricted free agent. and Jeff Pagalosha, he did not extend the qualifying offer to Kennedy Carter. So Kennedy Carter was not re-signed as a restricted free agent. Nobody in the WNBA picked her up. Nobody signed her. But she went over to China and she balled out. She was the MVP. She put up astronomical numbers. And that's just the type of player that Kennedy Carter is. So unfortunate, Kennedy Carter does not have a job in the WNBA right now. But Kennedy Carter, she is keeping high spirits and she's going about her day and she's preparing to see if she can get another call to play in the WNBA. But just here recently, she had to sit down and revisit the incident between her and Caitlin Clark. So let's take a look at, the incident that happened between Caitlin Clark and Kennedy Carter. And then we're going to listen to what Kennedy Carter finally breaks her silence, and she talks about what happened on that infamous play. But before we get off into that, right now, I'm at 17,217 subscribers, on my way to 18,000. And if you're new to this platform, you're just coming across any of these videos, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. And with the love and your support, we will get to 18,000. Now let's get off into the infamous play that happened between Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark. Let's take a look.
Controversial foul on Caitlin Clark.
Unnecessary.
Clark's Indiana Fever taking on the Chicago Sky on Saturday. The Sky's Kennedy Carter hitting a shot, then heading over to Clark and shoulder checking her. The refs called it a common foul, but the league yesterday upgraded the call to a flagrant foul.
Her and Carter were jawing a little bit back and forth the last few possessions.
The two were seen before the play, exchanging words at the other end of the court. Carter refused to answer questions about the foul after the game.
I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
But later, Carter saying this on social media. Besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table?
I think at this point, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game.
Clark's coach calling the foul unacceptable.
That was a non-basketball play that happened.
Many online criticized the foul. Tennis great Martina Navratilova saying this is not okay. Some comparing it to this hit on rookie Angel Reese from Alyssa Thomas, which got Thomas ejected from the game. Others say tough hits are just part of the game. Caitlin is grown and in a grown woman's league. She'll be all right, said one observer. Clark, before last night's game against the Liberty, seemed to agree.
I grew up playing the basketball with the boys, so it's always been physical and feisty, and that's what it is. And you got to find a way to hold your own. So it kind of reminds me of that. And then I grew up with two brothers, and things were about very, very physical. A lot of blood, a lot of tears.
You see the infamous play that happened, but you see what the back and forth, the play before. They didn't show when Caitlin Clark knocked Kennedy Carter down, but you saw them jawing, and then Kennedy Carter hits a jumper, and then she walks up on Caitlin Clark and gives her a hip check. Now to relook at this play, this ain't as egregious as what everybody made it seem. So now Kennedy Carter has finally spoken about it, and she's finally broken her silence. And let's take a listen to what Kennedy Carter had to say.
Down that situation that happened.
Yeah. So in basketball a little bit, there's things called talking, what you like to call smack or whatever everybody likes to call it.
Yeah.
Plays before things are said, that's a part of basketball. I think a play before, maybe I was elbowed. Okay, that happens. Think the next play down, maybe something was said, and then maybe there was a little clip of somebody yelling in my face. And then we go down the court, then I hit a little bucket, you feel me? Come down, hit a little nice little mid-range pull-up. And then I just just give her a little I'm here. I don't think it was, what's crazy? Me and my brother went back and watched, and we seen a lot of clips in the NBA of guys getting pushing LeBron. I think it was Jeff Teague or somebody who pushed LeBron out of bounds, said, man, I was mad because we couldn't stop him. So I'm just it's one of those things it happens in basketball. I know people try to say, oh, it's not one of those things.
It's not a personal thing. It's a competitive thing.
It happens in basketball, and it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's kind of what kind of what happened. Then it spiraled out of control.
And then the media takes whatever narrative they want to
you
put out.
watch every game, every single game, to see if you can find any deflects in my game, and like it's really nothing that you probably could say too much about. So then you have trolls, and that's why I said they're gonna be around regardless. But yeah, it was just like a nice little like tap, like I'm here, not to like harm you or anything. You know, if you want to push somebody, you're gonna like full force like.
But people
push
really
somebody.
made it like a crazy big deal. I've seen the clip.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not crazy deep in the WNBA world. But in the WNBA world, they dragged it like crazy.
I mean, that happens, man. Like, it's one of those things. I'm a great player. She's a great player. It looks a certain way. Everybody's gonna have their views on it. But my personal view is, you know, I don't have anything against her. She's a great player, and so am I. And I've got buckets all that season. You know what I'm saying? So, just one of those things that, I love it though. They think I hate it. I love it. I love when it gets riled up and juicy like that.
You feed off of like what people say and shit, and it makes you more motivated.
That's what I'm telling you. Oh yeah, I love the hate.
Yeah, you heard what Kennedy Carter had to say, man, and I'm glad that she broke her silence about the incident that happened between her and Caitlin Clark. Now, if you go back and look at the incident now to replay it, man, it wasn't egregious as what everybody made it seem. And I'm glad that Kennedy Carter broke her silence, but she did give Caitlin Clark her props in there. She said she's a great player. And also Kennedy Carter says she's a great player too. Now, if you go back and listen to the whole and look at the whole IRL stream from Neon 3, she did also say Kennedy Carter is one of the best players in the world. And it's unfortunate that she is not on a WNBA roster right now. And a lot of people said it's due to this play. And I hate to say, you know, that people are judging this play on Kennedy Carter's whole career. But we know that Kennedy Carter has had some issues in the WNBA. But this right here, like I said, to go back and look on it, it's not as egregious as what everybody made it seem at that time, because there was a play in that clip where Alyssa Thomas clotheslined Angel Reese, and nobody made a big deal about that. But, you know, here, we're talking about Caitlin Clark. When she first came into the league, people pushed her around. But Caitlin Clark said it herself, that she's a tough cookie. She grew up with brothers, blood, sweat, and tears. So she was no stranger to this. But the media blew it up. Social media ran with it. They created a narrative. People put out videos talking about Kennedy Carter's assault on Caitlin Clark. That's just a basic hip check. That wasn't nothing serious. That wasn't nothing malicious where she was trying to hurt her. Like Kennedy Carter said, it was a moment to let her know I'm here. But I'm going to see everybody in the comments section with their different comments. And we accept all comments. But just, you know, take your heart out of it and just look at it as basketball. Just like Kennedy Carter said, we see this every day in the NBA. What's so different about the WNBA? And if you keep on looking at the play, the hip check was nothing. That's just like a bump. That's just like being in the grocery store and you bumping into somebody. That's what I equivalent that to, because it wasn't nothing where she put total force behind it to really hurt Caitlin Clark. But I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on, so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap, and we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.